Okay, good morning, dear dreamers, and welcome to another episode of For F's Sake, where we explore all things freedom. And today we've got a really incredible guest, someone who I've had the honour of getting to know over a very slow pace period of time through my inner dance work. And I'm just very excited to hear more about what she's been birthing into this world of ours. So, the invitation is get your tea or your coffee or your glass of water, get yourself super comfortable where you can feel freedom inside your body to receive the medicine of these words and topics of conversation. But I'd really like to welcome the guest for today, Jayne Coulthard. And Jayne is the founder of Lost Birds, which is a collaborative collective creating enriching events that support women through hormonal change. And she's also created Lust Birds, which is playful, pleasure positive experiences delivered to your door. And I know that in those very simple sentences, it barely does justice to what she's actually creating and co creating. And I'm just going to hand it straight over to you, Jayne, so that maybe you can say hi, welcome yourself in, and just let us know exactly what Lost Birds is and how you've been spending your time this last wee while.
Well, thank you so much for the glorious introduction and good morning, everyone, or whatever time of day it is across the globe. Lovely to have you join us. So, Lost Birds just really came from conversation with my own friends, going through our own experience during perimenopause and menopause, and really looking for answers. You know, I'm a social scientist. I like to find answers to things, evidence, what's going on with my body, how can I help myself, but also having that ethos of coming from developing community events and bringing people together is kind of my skill set as well, to see not only can I help myself, my friends, but also the wider community. And so just through conversations, I realized there just really wasn't anything comprehensive, one place to go to get all the answers and to really feel part of a community when you're going through these hormonal changes. So just really start to have discussions and explore with people. And thankfully, I've got some fantastic community of entrepreneurship ladies as well who are very supportive. So again, that's a real anchor. And I realized there's really nothing all in one place that really translates the science and academic side of things into a really conversation that's really easily digestible and can also bring a bit of fun and humor to this stage we're going through. I think I wanted to bring any shame out of the window of talking about these topics, any taboo, because there's a lot of words and there's lots of associations around women's wellness and women's pleasure that are banned in a lot of the Amazons and Facebooks and things like this. So there's a lot of support that women actually providing products and services need to go out there and reach a bigger audience. Even someone like Gillian Anderson from, you know, the X-Files fame, she's created a beverage which has been banned on these platforms because the name of it, G-Spot. So that's something that's quite interesting to look at. All these products that have been banned because they describe female pleasure in some way, and also those that provide, you know, answers and evidence are not making it through to people. So it's about providing a platform where all those great things can come together without these masculine AI banned things that, you know, on these platforms where there's nothing untoward going on. This is fantastic people trying to do fantastic things, and we want to help them reach their audience. And the other aspects of it are really translating that scientific aspects into something that's easily digestible. How can I apply that for my day-to-day? And there's lots of fantastic experts, but really just want to translate the amazing things they're doing into an everyday language. That's kind of what I've worked for in the past, taking really something real technical or complicated and making that sort of like everyday language for everyone to adopt. Again, there's just so many fantastic people doing so many fantastic things. You know, like Caroline's doing this amazing inner dance that I've been part of, and then I'm looking at bringing other people for collaborate with. Like there's Right Rabbit Skincare, who have been chatting to recently, and I thought it'd be really nice to bring Caroline's inner dance together with this organic vegan product skincare to have an evening of relaxation. So we start with the skincare routine, and pamper ourselves that way, and then we lie down to enjoy the inner dance and everything that releases. So I think there's great ways of bringing products and services together to create an experience in the evening that can bring people together. So there's so many options and so much things to explore, to help bring amazing people doing amazing things all together into one place, into events, but also into treat boxes that can get sent to people's doors to help them through these hormonal changes. Thank you.
Wonderful. I mean, I love firstly that this sort of developed from conversations you were having with trusted friends around the lack of information available in the private sphere, at home and also in the public sphere through social media and the internet, etc. And how that this is such an essential aspect of the woman's life cycle. And very little is really known about it. It's very difficult to, like you say, to access one platform where you can gain easily digestible information that resonates and relates to you, and not only the pain and the loss that can be experienced through this time of life change, but the pleasure that can be gained from it and the freedom that comes with it. So I just love the fact that you're creating a house, a home for people around the world to be able to get information, to find a sense of community, whether that's through your online platform, whether it's receiving a monthly subscription package where there's a box full of goodies that come to their door, whether it's an in-person event. But something about making this just a very mainstream, normal topic of conversation, that doesn't set amygdalas going off, the fire alarm in the brain going off, or AI screening posts on Facebook or whatever. I think it's incredible that in the 21st century, women's pleasure, especially when it's tailored for a specific market, is not allowed to pass those gates. Jane, are you still there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree completely. There's so much blockers um, on discussing women's pleasure. And, there's not, I mean, there might be, women chatting about this, with their friends, but in terms of platforms and things, it's not really, there's not many safe spaces to do that. So again, that's, supported and allowed, and that's part of my research, is to discover and through these conversations of what products people are missing, what can help. And one of the first problems that I had going through the perimenopause was lots of UTIs, urinary tract infections. It's a common thing that can happen during menopause. I think there's people get different symptoms during menopause, and people get into very different things. It's one of the ones that I've had a lot of trouble with. And chatting to other people, there's many other people that have had a lot of cystitis during the menopause as well. So one of the first products I'm looking to create with a collaborator is a lube, just to really help just on your day to day, but then as well, for your pleasure. So that'll be, I came up with Lost Birds because these women, they're all navigating this on their own, and then you can come together to discuss it, and you kind of navigate it together rather than on your own. But the Lost Birds, I was chatting to the producer of all the Davina McCall's programs around menopause, and she, with my Scottish accent, she thought I said lust birds. She go, that's a great name. So I thought, well, you know what, let's create the consumer side of things, Lust Birds, and all the great products. So I think Lust Birds lube is a great combination, but working with an existing client, chatting to them about them producing it. So it's a collaboration. They've got all the expertise in putting that together. But again, it's going to be a journey of who's doing what, how can we help each other, how can we uplift each other? Because at this stage of life, when you're going through the perimenopause, menopause, 40s and things like that, it's, you're not on the school run meeting all the mums, you're not at university. So it's, how do you build your community? And I think it's a great thing to build a community through cheerleading. Because I do feel, you know all about energy, Caroline, but I do feel there's so much to be gained by being around the right people with the right energy, who can cheer on what you're doing and can provide of support and uplift that. by the energy and the support they give, but also if I can provide a pragmatic solution to of no risk to them, but of all benefit of putting them together with someone else to collaborate and bringing a package of people together and then showcasing that all in one place in one way. And I've had a mentor down in London who's had lots of successful companies, and she says, I can't believe no one's ever created packages, subscriptions for women going through these different stages. I think there's obviously one of the things I really want to address is this stage of life, because I'm at it myself, but there's so many other aspects to look at and explore to help people where people going through problem periods with endometriosis and PCOS. There's a whole lot of difficulty there, and there's a whole lot more spotlight on that now, which is great. There's a lot more conversations around the lack of health and welfare. There's also been a terrible lack of health investment into these areas by, chatting to nurses who really want to go and study women's health at this stage or problem periods, but they can't get the funding to do it. So again, one of the things I'm going to look at as I grow the company is to work with investment houses to see if we can have an allocation of funding and we can actually be the filter to allocate money to go people to do studies in this. The other thing I'd like to do is create an investment portfolio of investing in companies that are creating products to help women in these types of areas. So there's a lot more awareness that women's health, particularly around menstruation and menopause, is massively underfunded. But there's a couple of foundations now that are looking to allocate money in that area. So I'm just kind of really exploring ways that we could actually help with that and help allocate the money to the people who have great products they want to develop, to have, to provide the funding to people who want to study in this area. And so I don't just want to create something that's a service, it's an event, that's a product. I really want to try and bring the community together to kind of help the entire ecosystem. So that's kind of really, I've got obviously these ambitious goals and whatnot to bring all of those people together and bring ecosystems together to support itself in that way. But yeah, obviously it's quite ambitious, but I think it's really something that needs to be spearheaded by someone. And again, obviously there's a lot of other people that can help me get there as well.
Incredible. I can't think of anyone better. So, whilst being surprised that no one's considered it before, I imagine because this is your purpose and this is what you're meant to spearhead, as you say. And I love the fact that, I guess, when you were speaking, even before you mentioned the ecosystem, but there's something about the work that you do is going to almost mirror the cycles and life changes that women go through the different stages. But for those of us that are listening, maybe this is one of the first times in a public arena where these issues are being spoken about so openly, so eloquently. I come from a family where these things are not spoken about. And if I ask my mum about her own experiences, she comes up with, I don't remember what my symptoms were. And that's the end of the conversation. So for many of us, we don't actually have anyone to turn to. We're not really sure what even to Google about what's going on in our lives. And we might be going through stages of perhaps endometriosis or perimenopause, etc., without understanding that those are the symptoms that we're experiencing. And I wonder if maybe you could just say a few things, maybe to people that are really just looking at this or listening to this for the first time about, well, what is perimenopause, for example? What are the types of symptoms that you might begin to notice? More general ideas. And yeah, I don't know. I know that's a very big question, but
Yeah, it's basically, I mean, people have described it as like an alien taking over your body. Your body's been hijacked by, a parasite. They've had all these, they feel really they've lost themselves, they've lost their personalities, they've lost their energy, they've lost their oomph for life, and they feel like, they've just had their life on track and they've hit the roadblock, and it's like, what's going on? And I think it's that, first of all, that bewilderment of, what stopped? You're in your tracks, you're running on the treadmill, and suddenly you fall off and you think, why did I fall off? And it's trying to figure out what's going on. What else is going on? Because I think I was 2.5 years going to the doctor, about my symptoms before I was able to get a comprehensive list of symptoms from a friend. There was about 40 symptoms on it, and go to the doctor with a checklist to say, I have all of these. So I think actually having that checklist of what these changes are, and then putting it together in your head. So it might be, I had the hot flashes, about 3 years ago, but that was all independent. So you might not have a combination of symptoms all at the same time, and it might actually make sense to you that you're going through the changes until you have a multitude of them. And you put the pieces of the puzzles together, or someone helps you get there, because a lot of the time it can be quite isolating. You feel like your body's not working as it should do. It's doing strange things. So for me, I've had the hot flushes. I know, and they went away. I know a lot of people have them for years going through the menopause, and certainly people that have may had like cancer treatment and things like that can trigger an early menopause, so they can go through that for a whole lot longer. And the temperature control is one thing, and then you have other things like your internal biome, your health, like we often mentioned the UTIs and things like that. But there's a whole host of symptoms that can go on with the body. But it's really your biology is changing, but also not on your biology and how everything's moving and shaking inside your body, but it's your nervous system as well is greatly affected. And one of the things that I've suffered from is menopausal. They call it menopausal rage, where you just wake up angry and everything irritates you. And I think it's people understand a lot more about when you start your periods, and how people can talk a lot about the teenage girls when they have the periods on, and it becomes a bit of I'm sorry, unfortunately, a bit of ridicule or joke. Oh, you're on your period because someone's in a mood, which is really hijacking that way that our bodies change. And now obviously the menopausal rage, again, that's another thing that's become a term. But I think it's it can really bring shame on that, and basically shut down and silence people's experience of it, because you're just adding a term to it. But it's really important to have that discussion, and not someone to really dismiss what they think it is, but for each person to have a conversation with their husband, their friends, their community about what it means for them, because everyone's experience and variation, the volume of the experience can be different. But with the change in emotions, and obviously finding things irritating, actually results that men should open the discussion with their wives or partners, because it's the massive point of divorce, where women are just basically, I've had enough of you, goodbye, and the divorce, and leave their husbands at that stage. But I think there's a whole lot more understanding of this period, and a whole lot of discussions before it happens, and a whole lot of discussions through it happening. There'll be a whole lot less divorces. But again, it prompts women to, because their bodies and their emotions and the nervous systems going through all these changes, it does make them think, again, it might not just be, they might realize that they've evolved from this person. They don't want to be in this relationship anymore, but it's not salvageable. And they might want to move on and have different priorities. They have the empty nest, the kids have left, and they really want to start to own their lives for themselves. But I think it's important to, so it doesn't get to the point of just waking up one day and realize you really hate someone. It's actually really, is that valid, or is your emotions just all over the place at that point? And is it worthwhile sitting down, having discussions, and understanding what's going on? So I think it's not just about women understanding what's going on with their bodies and their emotions, but also I think men need to be part of the conversation, or their partners, to understand what's going on, because they need to be really supportive. And it's one of the things we've looked at for Lost Birds as well, for the subscription packages, is actually marketing them to men to buy them for their partner. So they're buying these events, they're buying these subscription packages with lots of lovely treats in each month for the partner. So when they arrive, it's like, well, I can't really stop what's going on with your biology. I can't really, I'm not an expert in this, but what I can do is actually show I care and show I'm listening. And I think that is just such an important thing, is to actually allow someone to share their experiences, to open that discourse and discussion about it. And also just realize that they are going through a massive transition. And, in ancient cultures and, in different cultures across the globe and in ancient things, it wasn't really seen as a problem, more of issue, seen more of a celebration, and is something that's a rites of passage. So you're actually getting to the stage where your body's stopping making periods because you're at this really bright, wise stage of life, and it's actually something to be celebrated because you're going to be the elders of the community and you're going to guide everyone, and you stop having periods because you're such a valued member of society. So there's a whole different language around it, there's a whole different celebration around it. But I think obviously that's something that I want to create as well, is actually celebrating this time and actually celebrating what was great about it. Yes, it's also really, really important to look at what the issues can be and what can go wrong at this stage, and really understanding our bodies. But at the same time, it's also great to actually celebrate what can be fantastic about this stage in life as well.
So it sounds like freedom can be cultivated and nurtured by getting information about symptoms and that big long list that you mentioned, because some people might not be putting two and two together, that what they're actually beginning to experience might be signs of perimenopause or menopause. To have open conversations with family, friends, partners, so that there's a freedom of exchange of information and emotion about how this is impacting them. And then that celebration of this time of life, where it is a great process of integration, isn't it? Where we step into perhaps a fullness of power, where all of those mistakes and learnings along the way in life come together, and we do take powerful space as elders in the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's really important. I think it's owning this stage of life of and being proud and sitting in that, and not being shamed by it, and actually really celebrating. I think there's so much to uplift about this stage of life. Again, you're looking at children may have left home, they may be thinking about a new career or a change of career. It will unsettle their body and disrupt their emotions, but then sometimes that's actually can be a really fantastic cleanse of who's in your orbit, because you don't have the energy to deal with people who are draining your energy when you have got less to give. So it can actually make you have a really good declutter and clear out, and you can also then start to attract people that are more beneficial to your energies and your wellness. So I think it's just a really important time for people to look at all aspects of their health, and it's a different, again, look at nutrition. A lot of people like myself have issues with arthritis and their bones and their joints at this stage of life, and it's really important to look at adding in muscle at this stage of life, because your body's losing so much elasticity and collagen and things like that, and it's ways of actually compensating for that. You obviously got your HRT, which is been well explored, but it's actually looking at things like diet, how that can help, and exercise as well, because the punishing fitness we might put ourselves through in our 20s might not be what's suited now, and a lot of the advice is to look at fitness in terms of building strength on your muscles at this stage of life, because obviously your bone density and all that can be affected during menopause as well. And also I think looking at fitness and exercise as a way of not just about the cardio and that type of thing, but looking at it as a way as actually the movement actually being quite healing as well, and having before you might have had performance indicators like Strava and how much I've run and things like that, but it might be a case of, well, how balanced do my hormones feel, and how well do I feel myself, what sort of energy do I feel inside, and what energy am I emitting. And so it's less about hitting those targets and productivity, but it's more about just having a more holistic view of your health and being more aware of it. And I think it's one of the stages you do go through these massive changes, it does make you more aware. And I think it's actually tuning into that, because you might just be like having a normal keep on the treadmill of life, the routine that I've had before, but you're actually going against what you're listening your body, what your body needs at that time. and what your body's asking for. So I think it's really good to stop and take time and listen to your body, and your emotions, and maybe just time to think about what hobbies you do and what interests you have. And it's a really good time to just kind of explore what will suit this next stage of life. That maybe is some one thing I don't do so much of. I don't have so much alcohol as I did before. My body can't process it the way it used to. So I really look at that. I think red wine for me with less sugar in it. I have more as a pleasure with a dinner rather than go out drinking type things. And it's looking at being much more on a journey of looking at what things I can do, but it's not partying, it's not staying up to the club to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but what can I do that's beneficial to my body, but also beneficial to my heart and soul, and connecting with the community. I'll have a lot more Sundays where I wake up and do some stretching on the beach. I go have a cold water dip and then a sauna, and these types of things, which are really fantastic for my body. And again, doing the inner dance has been one of the most powerful things for me. I used to dance, I used to move, and obviously my bones are all sore now, so it's not really something I do much of. But to have that movement, semantic releases where you're shaking out, or when you're stretching, or to have that journey through the music in a different way. So you're not going out partying, getting those endorphins, euphoria through that, but you're getting a real awakening, and you're getting a real breakthrough of things I've had within a dance, a real breakthrough of creativity and problems. I've had real enlightenment, and there's been fantastic things that can be done through music. So it's, again, music has really always been really powerful for me, but I'm not interpreting it in terms of dance and thrashing about my body for 6 hours on the dance floor. It's more of an internal process for me now, where music's having an impact on my whole body and my emotions and things like that. So it's not a case of stop loving the things you love, but it's more of a case of how can you enjoy them, and what's the different sort of place you can enjoy them in. And that's when a dance has been really fantastic for me to have that pleasure of music, but also really impactful on my body in an entirely different type of way than it used to.
Yes, what I'm hearing is it's such a recalibration that you're describing. It's being able to respond to the changes that are happening internally, and then reorganizing how you spend your time, or what brings joy and pleasure in your connected lifestyle. That, like you say, maybe you're not going out night clubbing for 8 hours. You're finding joy through different forms of movement or connection with nature. That it's learning the shift in your biorhythms and your moods and your energies, and honoring and celebrating those rather than shaming yourself for not being how you used to be in your early 20s.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And it's also like a thing of like, we as women, we're, with a lot of the media, we're pre-programmed to really aspire to that 20-year-old body that you used to have, and you might compare yourself to that body as well. And it's actually like, I'm nearly 50 now, and instead of thinking, oh God, I wish I could look like I did when I was 20, when I had this perfect size 10 figure, it's more of a case of looking in the mirror, and it's actually really changing the language. It's been programmed by the media and whatever else, your customs that's gone in, and it's actually trying to shake that off, and actually being like, no, I'm not going to be brainwashed by what I'm told to expect of beauty standards. Like, I'm going in body standards. I'm actually going to start to interpret myself for me and what I want to tell myself, and shaking off that, and not comparing yourself to your younger self, but actually going, I start to say, again, I'm probably not in the place where I'm actually jumping up and down at how amazing I am, and I think that'd be a great place to be. But I'm at the stage of going, bloody hell, you're not bad for nearly 50. So it's kind of like, it's humbling, and it's also a case of, and I'm like, I am like to get glamorous and feel good. And Sunday's my day where I always dress up to the T's, and wherever I'm going, whatever I'm doing, I'm always glamorous on a Sunday. Whereas a Saturday night used to be my night where I'd get all, I'd love that transformation of going from like a sporty kid to like going getting, glamorous. So my transformation is now on a Sunday, I get in my Sunday best, which has also been quite traditional for the church community. Get on your Sunday best, and I go out in my Sunday best, and always make sure that I'm well turned out on a Sunday. And it's my kind of routine for me after, you know, a working week and whatnot. And it's nice to have that self-care, but also that realizing if your body does change, you know, during this stage as well. And it's actually looking to ways to actually care for your body and care for emotions and being kind to yourself. And it's just kind of interesting. I remember going to an old park and sitting in a really, really old tree and thinking, gosh, old trees are so cherished. They're so
Mm.
celebrated. You know, the lines on them, the cracks on them, the bumps on them are really, really cherished. And everyone will go and see the oldest trees and they'll be really marked out on the map. And but it's kind of like, as we do as humans, there can be some fantastic photographers that capture that in a human face. But on an everyday level, I don't think we look at these lines and bumps and scars and whatnot and really celebrate the journey that they've come
Mm.
on to get to that point. And it's like, wow, I've learned so many lessons along the way. I'm so much wiser now. I'm so much know who I am. I know what I want. Yeah, so it's a massive transition, and I think the language that we have of ourselves is really important, and the language that we use, and we don't want that to be hijacked because language is Donna's a language expert, like, you know, that is just so powerful. And that's one thing that I really want to do, is be really careful and really purposeful with the language that I choose around lost birds. And the lost birds and the language is going to be fun, it's going to be playful, it's going to be celebratory, and it's quite inspired by the West End and the fantastic energy you get on the West End stage and that dynamic. So a lot of the branding's related around that, and just that, you know, that West End boudoir jazz club type of vibe, rather than, you know, that kind of that lovely lighting, that great music, and it's more chilled, and rather than the chaos that, you know, if you're young years, but finding something that really suits you. So I thought that suited the brand well. Yeah, so that's it's really important to just really understand what changes our body is going through, but then also not to and to celebrate the changes in a way that we talk to ourselves in a really encouraging way.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for you bringing in the image of the tree. You know how we revere around the world those ancient trees that hold so much wisdom. How people seek them out for solace, for comfort. And we sit beside a tree or under one. We hug trees or place our hands upon them. We photograph them. We really do honor them, and how much we receive from them just by being in the same proximity as them. But I'm also thinking about their root systems and how it's the elder trees that nourish those sapling trees that are struggling. That, you know, it's the elder trees who are responsible for the well-being of the community of trees that they're in. And I guess that's what's coming through for me as you're talking about how you are, with intention, creating a language that's accessible and playful and is reaching out to all members of the community and nourishing them in the ways that they need support and nourishment. And I love the fact that you're bringing in the play, and because that's such a lost part of our psychology and our embodiment. You know, we're told to grow up too quickly, and when we lose play, we lose curiosity. That's usually because we're in chronic states of stress or in some sort of survival state. So to be intentionally weaving that into your position within society, I think is going to be so helpful at a very deep level of nervous system regulation and entrainment.
Yeah, I think it's really really important to have that playfulness and you know, um act your age. Well, I am acting my age, and this is the age to actually have lots of fun and to be free and to be celebrated. And I think there's, you were saying about the language and things, a whole lot of cultures, you know, different cultures interpreting this different ways, ancient cultures, the different rituals and things they looked at. So that's one aspect I really want to bring to it, is actually exploring, these communities and the ancient cultures, and actually looking to see what lessons have been forgotten, what lessons were learned, then what's hidden, and really doing a deep dive into all of that, and then presenting that and discussing it. And I think it's just, we've got to, as a social scientist, I'm always thinking about, is this just a construct of what we've been told in this present day and time? So I'm always looking at, other forms of time, and like, would this be a different scenario, in a different culture, and how do you then shift cultures and things like that? So it's something I've always been really aware of and really inquisitive and curious about. So again, it's something I've always tried to cultivate myself in any sort of work I've done, as the culture. And when I worked in the animation industry, I was kind of new to it, but one of the things, I went over to Los Angeles and to look at the culture there, of the animation industry there, and how successful it was, and realized one of the magic ingredients they had was really that sense of celebration and that sense of connection. So that's something I brought back and created a festival over here that's still very successful, called Moves From It, and that's got a vast ecosystem that's been developed to support Scottish animation and then connect it with the rest of the world. And that's something, obviously, I want to do here, is like, yes, we are based in Scotland, but I really want to have those international links. For one thing, obviously, I was saying to you about the different cultures, of how it's really, I think, really interesting to have discussions with people in different cultures, and how it's interpreted differently, and how they do it, to really then get a real cleanse on where we are and where we should be, and where we want to get to. So really dismantling the current language around it and building a new language around it, and also the process of how we discuss it, and how we manage it, and how we progress our lives. So I just think it's as you're saying before, it's a massive recalibration of your internals, but obviously I want to do that with the externals, and really, like what the trees have done, really map out. And they're finding a lot more fascinating things about trees at the moment, as well as how they provide light and shade to people they know they've got a connection with. And also there's a whole lot more of the tree songs that are coming out. People are connecting to the trees, and they're getting the sound of the trees as well. And it's one of the things one of my friends is looking at, to create music from that. But it's absolutely amazing what network they can create, and that's kind of really what I want to do, is really trying to, not just within Scotland but internationally, really connect people that are doing amazing things, and really putting them on a podium and pedestal. Because as I say, it's like, who can cheerlead these women at this stage of life, and that's something I really want to do. Those people that are doing great things in medicine, but then translating it to something that's really digestible, who's doing great things with their practices, whether it is in therapy, or whether it's in another aspect of healing, but on something that's a practical thing that they can do. He's got great advice, but then it's really, again, it's how to translate that into an everyday, how can this help my life on a day-to-day level? And then all these amazing experts who make creating experiences like you do with the inner dance, but it's how to match them with a product that'll fit. So the ways I was looking at exploring that, Caroline, was really to have, for example, do an event a month with you with inner dance, but then match you each month with a different product. So say, talking about the white rabbit skincare, to do that, and even in a relaxation. But it might be we choose another product to match you with that might be about all energizing. So it's about different times of day and the different things you might to do. We might do something in the morning with someone, more to do around fitness, for example, and then it's really the music's energizing, and we might do something in the evening. So it's about the cycles of the day and the cycles of life, and just trying to really see what will suit and what we could do. So I think this is interesting to explore and navigate. So that's webbing you up with 12 different products, and then I guess it's an experimentation to see which ones then you could actually develop into more of a collaboration beyond that. And then really, I just think it's a really interesting way of getting to the end with the subscription boxes, and also connecting with people from all over who are just doing amazing things, trying to connect you with different products.
Thank you. I'm just sitting here basking in how lit up you are by this, how deeply passionate you are about this practice, how you're going to be in service, and how you recognize the importance of the global community. I guess that's something that's become more important to me the older I've gotten, is community and group work and being a part of a collective. And I'm hearing you really prize and value that, to tune into the amazing things and people that are happening around the world, that and the archetypal wisdom that is being embodied, to bring that all together for people. So I greatly appreciate that. And it's just really delightful to hear you speak so well about such an important part of a person's life. I'm curious, for people who are, again, just at the very early stages of even looking at this in their own lives, what sort of advice do you have as first steps to, I don't know, finding freedom through this process?
Um, I think it's really good to have a journal of some sort, to really take note, because one of the things that when you do go to the medical institutions, they will want kind of like a tracking. So it's also good for you just to realize if there's any cycles to what's going on with your own body and your own emotions, to see if there's patterns to anything.
Mhm.
So I think it's good to journal in that way. I also think it's good to maybe to have some rituals as well, to that you maybe haven't had before. I think it's a really nice chance to actually look at that and explore different aspects, different events, and try and experiment with different things. But I think the first step I would be is actually just that self awareness, and tuning into your body, and tuning into your emotions, and just being really self aware. I think that'd be the first stage of things, because we can get caught up into the busyness of life, where we're caring for other people, we're looking after our employees, we're being a team member, we're being a mum, we're being a daughter, and we don't have actually time to have stop and take stock and actually take that time and that self-care for ourselves. So I think it's really important to actually own that and not feel guilty for that. Um, there was also when the start of changes for me as well. Like I was always a hyperactive person that was going at a million miles an hour for everything. And if I had a relaxing time, I feel then have a guilt trip myself over that. So it's actually having a conversation with yourself to be like, this is a time of life that I need to be really self-aware. I really need to comprehend what's going on, and also just kind of journal in that in a way so you can have some sort of track. But then also looking your conserving your energy at this time, as well. Think your energy's definitely shifting, but it's a case of, well, it can be done in a beautiful way. So it's not just a case of you can't really do the things you did before, but it's like, how can my energy be crafted in a different way? How can I find different ways to re-energize myself? One of the things I've found fantastic is crafting as well. Like, having that patient time where you just stop and you're just immersed in a craft. And something, I think sometimes if you do something that will take all your attention away from everything else going on, you're so focused on it. I think that can sometimes be relaxing as well. Sometimes you think I'm too busy to relax, but again, that's another thing. I think it's just so important at this stage of life to have that moment to relax, then recalibrate and have that awareness. And yeah, because if you don't and keep going, you could go through all of this, and you're not really in control of it. So I think in being, rather than just let everything happen to you and let everything come over you, it's actually being like, no, I'm gonna want to be, and this is how I control all these changes going on for me. It's actually been like, I want to be really educated about it. I want to really understand it. Who's saying what are people doing to help? What's going on? and that helps me go through the process. And I'm not really a selfish person. I want, well, if I'm navigating all of this, how can I then help other people? I'm obviously a person who looks to be productive and efficient. It's like, well, if I'm doing all this work, why not share it with everyone? So I think that's just a really important thing, is just to allow yourself the self-care, allow yourself to relax, and reconsider how things can change in your life, and how, like maybe experimenting with things that you've not tried before, or revisiting things that you got lost from your childhood that you want to revisit, something you enjoyed then. And so I think that's just really important to do. And otherwise you could go through the entire process without really realizing what's going on, and things can be really disruptive, and you've not really then been aware of why things are, friendships can break down, relationships can break down, you can have accident, your body can have accidents and things like that, and you're not really, it's just, the more aware you are, the more control you can have of it, the more you can be prepared for things, the more you can have the words to describe what's going on, the more help you can get, the more support you can get. So I think that's the first stage, is actually just having that self-awareness and that time for relaxation, and assessing what's going on.
I guess I'm hearing that by choosing presence, you can cultivate a deeply empowering process. It's about reclamation and sovereignty, isn't it? By having the right level of, or not the right level, having a curiosity and developing personal insight and gaining a language, understanding and community helps people to position themselves through this with so much agency that it becomes something that's not being done to them, but it's a co-creation.
Yeah, I love that term, the co-creation. Definitely, I think it's a case that a lot of the things are going to happen to your body, and it's not something you can shift or change. But there's lots of things you can do to help the process, assist the process, delay the process, or enhance the process. So it's I think our biology, we might not understand all aspects of it, but there's things that we can do to really help and support ourselves in that understanding. And also it's just really not getting frustrated and shamed at yourself as well. And it's actually been like, okay, this is just my body doing its thing, and that's all right. And if I can, change my diet in a way to more support it, if I can shift my exercise, if I can find more rituals and practices that'll help support my emotions and my body, and then I can have a chat to someone that might actually help them through it. And so these getting myself on HRT, the doctors, wouldn't listen to me for a while until a friend sent this checklist, and then I've sent that on to others. So it's like all these, that having discussions with people. And I think you were talking before about your family, and I think the only discussion my mum's had with me about menopause, I can remember from when we were younger, was the age she started, and she went on her HRT, and that was it. There was not, a list of the symptoms. It was not how her friends supported her through it. I think at that stage it was just a really isolating process that I think the Divina Call programs and things like that have bring a lot more conversation, and allow people to feel the freedom to discuss these types of things. And I think that's fantastic what they've done to create that. But I just really want to add value to what's already the fantastic people are doing, and to kind of integrate it and link it all together. And just a really fun way that's just really, it's basically having a great time with your friends, and doing something that's just really fun and lovely together. And also, one of the things I want to bring to it is just really bringing people that bring a great sense of humor and joy, and so we can have a laugh about things, because obviously I think humor can be a great nervousness and regulation, and I think humor as well can help you process a lot of the things that are maybe unfair, but then also discuss the things that can really help. I think humor can be disarming as well, and it can create a lot of inclusivity as well. So I think humor is one thing that I really want to bring into it all, as well.
That's brilliant. there's something about humor and joy and celebration that are antidotes to shame. And I guess, as we bring in examples of our own personal experiences with mothers or people in the family where it was just something that people have endured silently and shamefully on their own to the point where they had absolutely no sovereignty in their own process of perimenopause and menopause. Even menstruation is something that, up until quite recently is something that is frowned upon or not spoken about. It's not the products aren't even advertised well on television. So you're really helping to change, to expand and enrich the narrative so that we can, really honor this incredible time of life. Rather than dread something that's going to happen to us, that we can, get in line and aligned with it and make the most of it.
Now, so you just made me think of a kind of funny segment to, things we discuss is the ridiculousness of some of the adverts around menstruation as well. And it really, that's a conversation in itself. It's a funny topic because if we were to have periods like the adverts described, if that was your only source of knowledge, if you came down and only saw the adverts as a way to understand periods, how how misinformed you would be. Yeah. So yeah, you'd think you'd have blue periods. It's you're not allowed to show period blood in adverts. Anything that resembles it. The color, everything has to be blue and clinical, which is really how they can put such a shame on that. It's such a natural thing, and no one would be here on this planet without it. So that's one of the things I really want to unroot and discuss is why, that's been going on for decades. That's advertising where it's like you're stripping away the reality of what periods is. But then also there's a lots of ban on certain words around the female body and the female experience. So it's exploring that, and there's some fantastic humorous discussions to be had around the ridiculousness of the advertising industry around menstruation, for sure.
Yeah. And something about the only pathway to freedom is being able to hide that shame from other people. So as long as you appear to be fully vital and, no leaks, then all is well. No one will know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Hide your period, hide your menopause, and that makes everyone much more comfortable. But that's, I want to I want to do things in a way that I want to have discussions, and I want to present products and services and things like that way that is inclusive. I do think we'll have to, as part of our discussions, we will address really controversial things, but I want it to be done in a really respectful and a really humorous way, because I think humor, can really play a part in that, because it's we want to envelope people who don't have these experiences as well and get them to relate to it and understand it. And so yeah, I think it's a really important to talk about the mistakes that's happened, but I really want to focus on the future and crafting a language. I mean, Donna, who's there, like, she's a wordsmith and will be really fantastic in helping that and creating the language. And the language I want to create around Lost Birds, and Lost Birds is really positive and uplifting and fun and humorous. But that's not to say we will tackle serious subjects. We will tackle important aspects. I mean, one of the things, eventually want to do is, with our group, is have a group of people who can discuss it political level and have political leverage and that sort of thing. I mean, that would be obviously one of the ambitions, is to have those conversations with the people that are in power. So of course we want to be respected at a serious level, but the way we can engage with people and the way we can create an audience and the way we connect with people will be in a way that is digestible. It's non-clinical. It's a language that's very much cultivated to be an everyday type of language and to connect with people in a way that they feel that being part of it and having a discussion can be a bit of fun and it's a bit of joy.
Yeah.
So I
And
think that's, yeah.
I've no doubt that that's, well, I know that that's what you're creating right now, but I've no doubt that that's going to happen for you. And before we invite Donna on, maybe if she'd like to say a word or two, being such a gorgeous wordsmith, I wonder, where do people find your work then, Jane? For those that are listening, how do they get in touch with you or have a look at what you're doing?
So lostbirds.co.uk is the website. I'm also on LinkedIn with Jayne Coulthard. It is very early days with us, and Caroline's been very supportive from the early days. So we're going to be launching events shortly, doing the In and Dance with Caroline. And as I said, I'm going to match her with a different product that will help people through the transitions and the stages in life, as well as amazingly what her inner dance does for your hormones and your emotional well-being, your physical well-being. And we're going to start to send out packages in advance of those events. Yeah, so it's all becoming, it's very early days for us, but we have our big ambitions and plans in place. We have a supportive network of entrepreneurs supporting us and mentors, and obviously we've got Donna and Debs and the team who are helping as well. Donna's our communications director, wordsmith, and we have Debs, she's a biologist, and she's got a whole lot of understanding of the body and what's going on with it, and she's helping us determine what we can put in our products to help people. So there's lots of plans ongoing, but there's so much to be done, and anyone who wants to come in and be part of it, or has got something they think they can offer that will be able to connect with other people doing amazing things, or a bit of research that they'd like to share. And again, our we're our kind of thing is to really translate things into something that's culturally accessible, cultural translator, connecting what's going on with your inner body to the world as it is, and the world as it was, and the world that we want it to be. But one of the important things we're asking for people to come and be involved with us and to be part of the community is lived experience. So we really want to work with people who have a experience at this stage of life, or work in the problem periods that they have experience, because we want people to know the people that they're chatting to, the people that are giving them advice and that are creating products for them have been through it and have been there. And it could be that beyond that, one of our crafts experts, she has been through it all, and she's struggled, and she wants to, crafts helped her through it, and that's when she really took up her crafts, and she's got a successful business from it. And it's finding those people that want to be part of that. So it'd be great to hear from them as well as we
Amazing.
navigate and we start to join the dots. Thank you.
Incredible. So, anyone that's listening and that resonates with, perhaps you can make your way over to the lostbirds.co.uk website, and then you can get in contact with Jane directly about your ideas, your product, the embodied spaces that you hold. Jane, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the
Thank you.
show. And I wondered, Donna, I know that you're there, and I'm wondering there might be something that you'd like to come with and add to this conversation before we gently wrap up. If you are there and you would like to say something, please do come in.
Hello there. Can you hear
Hi,
me?
Donna. We can hear you loud and clear, dear.
Excellent. What a pleasure it's been listening to both of you. Honestly, I could listen to you for at least another hour. I really could. I would just like to say really quickly, just to speak to the authenticity of Jane, who has been one of my greatest cheerleaders for decades, and I am so excited and so thrilled to be part of this project. And it's also been, a challenge to me to think about my writing and my self-awareness and my experience of menopause. And it's just been, such a thrill. And when you and Jane were talking earlier about trees, I was reminded that years ago, Jane and I visited one of the most ancient trees in Scotland, in Balmerino Abbey in Fife. And that tree is buttressed and supported now, and that is what Jane is to me. And she was talking about community and how important it is and how vital it is to have a community that energizes us at this point in our lives. And thank you to both of you. It was just such a thrill listening to both of you today. And thank you very much.
Oh, Donna, thank you so much for coming in. I think Jayne has not, she called you a wordsmith, but I think that's understating your eloquence significantly. But it's really lovely to feel your presence and have your voice heard here. And I echo what you say in regards to Jayne as an incredible support. Jayne, Donna, you're going to do amazing things for people all around the world with this offering of lost and lost birds. And I look forward to being part of it as much as I can be. But for those of us that have been listening, just to take a moment, just to let all of this information settle, inclusive of Jayne's passion, there is so much knowledge, wisdom, information, and so many pathways that are being born, not only through today's conversation, but all the things that Jayne, Donna, Debs are doing behind the scenes to create this incredible platform for people around the world. And that takes a little while for the nervous system to fully and truly integrate. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to end the show and then end the recording. And if anyone would like to stay online for a few moments, they might have something to share directly with Jayne or Donna. Maybe you have a question, then there might be the time. But for now, I would just like to, with just immense gratitude, Jayne, thank you so much for your time today. And I agree with Donna. I think there's more conversations to be had, and perhaps in your busy schedule, we could have another conversation on the radio show if you would be open to that. Maybe Donna, you would like to be a guest on that too. But for today, for our freedom's sake, thank you so much to everybody for listening and wishing you very sweet dreams when they come. Thank you, everybody.